All right, today we are diving into something called Operation Chargeback. We're talking about a 300 million euro heist that went on for 5 years, quietly stealing money from millions of people all over the world. It is a wild story of high-tech crime, serious corporate corruption, and the return of a ghost from one of Europe's biggest financial scandals.
Because that really is the question at the heart of all this. You know, a chargeback is supposed to be your safety net. It's how you tell your bank, hey, this charge is fraudulent, and you get your money back. But in this case, the criminals, with help from the inside, twisted that very tool into a weapon against you.
And the whole thing kicked off with something so small, so completely ordinary, you would have just scrolled right past it on your bank statement.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're looking at your statement, you see some weird charge from a company you don't recognize. Maybe a free trial you forgot to cancel. It's just an annoyance. But for these criminals, that little annoyance was the front door to a global heist.
And miss, this was the magic number, a recurring monthly charge for around 50 euros. It's the perfect amount, really. It's small enough that you might not question it, and it's definitely not going to set off any big red flags with your bank's fraud detection.
Investigators actually have a name for this: low and slow fraud. See, it's not a loud smash and grab robbery. It's way smarter. It's like a quiet leak, a parasitic drain that just keeps going month after month. It's way less likely to trigger alarms, and for the criminals, it's a nice, stable paycheck.
And their playbook was just brilliantly simple. First, get your hands on a ton of stolen credit card data. Second, use that data to create a bunch of fake online subscriptions, usually for hidden stuff like porn or dating sites. Third, bill people these small amounts using really boring corporate-sounding names. And the final, most crucial step? Just count on people being too busy or too distracted to ever notice.
And that's the real genius here. It's psychological. They basically weaponize what we all have now, subscription fatigue. I mean, think about it. You're already paying for Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime. In a world with dozens of these little payments, one more unfamiliar 50 euro charge just blends right into the noise.
So that one tiny unnoticed charge was the key that unlocked the whole thing. But what happens when you take that key and use it millions of times all across the globe? Well, the numbers over 5 years became absolutely breathtaking.
Let's start with the victims. This wasn't some small-time scam. The network hit over 4.3 million individual cardholders.
And it wasn't just in one region. This was truly global. We're talking victims in 193 different countries. To give you some perspective, German prosecutors pointed out that even people in North Korea got hit. That's how widespread this thing was. And here's the final tally. Between 2016 and 2021, the whole network stole a confirmed total of over 300 million euros.
But here's the really tough pill to swallow for all those victims. Authorities have done a good job seizing over 35 million euros in assets. That sounds like a lot, until you put it next to the 300 million that was actually stolen. The harsh reality is, those 4.3 million people will probably never see the vast majority of their money again.
So how on earth did they pull this off? Well, they had a whole criminal industry supporting them. They used over 500 shell companies to process all the payments, and they didn't even have to build this stuff themselves. They basically bought crime-as-a-service packages that came with everything: fake company directors, forged identity documents, the whole shebang.
Okay, so this brings up a huge question. You've got this massive global fraud. How does all that dirty money get into the legitimate financial system? Well, the answer to that is probably the most shocking part of this whole story.
Because the gateway wasn't some shady offshore bank. No, the entire 300 million euro scheme was funneled right through the systems of 4 major payment companies, right in the heart of Germany, Europe's biggest economy.
And these are not small-time operations. We're talking about the now infamous Wirecard, of course, but also Payline, which is connected to Germany's savings banks, Unser, which is backed by a huge private equity firm, and Nexi Germany. These guys are supposed to be pillars of the German FinTech scene.
And this is where it gets really, really ugly. This wasn't just a case of someone dropping the ball. Investigators allege that executives and, get this, compliance officers, the very people whose entire job is to stop fraud, were getting paid fees to look the other way, to actively help these criminals get in. The rot was coming from inside the house.
Now that name I just mentioned, Wirecard, should be setting off all kinds of alarm bells.
And its appearance on that list is no coincidence, because investigators are now saying this isn't just a new scandal, it's the ghost of an old one. German prosecutors now suspect that Jan Marsalek, the fugitive COO from the Wirecard collapse, Germany's most wanted financial criminal, was actually involved in helping run this very network. They're literally calling it Wirecard 2.0.
And when you look at the timeline, it all starts to click. This criminal network was running at full steam while Wirecard was at its peak. Then, in June 2020, Wirecard completely collapses and Marsalek vanishes. Just a few months later, the official investigation into Operation Chargeback begins. It suggests the criminal ecosystem that Wirecard built didn't die, it just scattered.
The fallout from the Wirecard disaster, followed by the discovery of this new network, forced Germany's financial regulator, BaFin, to completely change its entire approach, from being a passive observer to becoming a much more aggressive sheriff.
And get this, here's a stunning detail that wasn't public until just recently. While all the big arrests and headlines happened in 2025, it turns out BaFin had already identified and secretly shut down this entire €300 million fraud operation 4 years earlier, back in 2021. The public raids were the final move, not the first.
You see, this case forced a total change in strategy. The old way of doing things, having a compliance officer just tick some boxes, follow a simple rule like flag any transaction over €1,000, that was just way too easy to beat. The new mandate is a technological arms race, using AI and machine learning to analyze entire networks and spot connections a human could never, ever see.
So in the end, look, Operation Chargeback was a huge win for law enforcement. They caught the criminals. But it leaves us all with a really critical question. We can build smarter AI and better systems, but if the gatekeepers themselves can be paid to just hold the door open for criminals, is technology ever really enough? That's the billion-dollar question the entire financial industry is grappling with right now.